Ruslan.
Would finding your God-given talent be the first step and then pursuing that? Oh, this is such a good question. Here's the thing about talent. I think God wires us different. Personality types, work ethic, grind, passion, interests. Some of that I think is definitely hardwired. I think I was hardwired to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know it. My dad is an entrepreneur. I didn't grow up with him, meaning him and my mom split, but me and my dad are a lot alike. I think some of that is just straight DNA. But when it comes to this idea of God-given talent, I believe God will give us spiritual gifts. I believe that is a thing. God will give us spiritual gifts. But God-given talent, I don't know if God is like, from eternity's past, looking at Ruslan and like, I'm going to drop a little bit of rapping ability and a little bit of live streaming ability. Like, I don't know if that's a thing. And so I'm saying I don't know. I don't have a definite opinion. I think we get spiritual gifts. Like, I do think that's a thing. I think there are some that are teachers and some that are preachers and some that operate more apostolically and start churches and movements. And I think some of us are amazing administrators, right? So I think there's that, but to God-given talent. So this is my theory from reading books like Outliers, from reading books like Mastery. I think that the majority of what we call talent is a myth. I think talent is a myth. And this is what I mean. I think what we think is talent is just proficiency over time. It's just proficiency, consistency, compounded over time. And then you wake up and you think someone is quote unquote talented. Colossians 3:23 says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters. So we know according to scripture, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart. Pour everything you have into whatever you do. I know we read the parable of the talents. That was about money. Let's just be clear. Talent in Matthew 25 is about money. Okay, it's not about Ruslan has the talent to play basketball. This is from Outliers. When you study things like soccer and the folks that go on to become professional soccer players, what you find is, this is true, you guys could look this up, the vast majority of European soccer players are all born between the months of January and March. Okay, that's really interesting. Why is that? It's like, did the stars align a certain way? Does the moon create a certain propensity spinning out? Like, what's going on? And they did studies. Why are these kids going to become soccer players? The overwhelming majority of them who are professional soccer players are born in the first 3 months of the year. It's not a DNA thing, they found out. It has nothing to do with the Earth's rotational pull, nothing like that. What they found out is, if you're going all the way back to first, second, third grade, let's just even kindergarten, kids that they're separating their soccer years by years. So if you're born, let's just say my son's born 2014. His birthday's in November. He's in a soccer league with other kids. This is how they do it in Europe. With other kids that are born in January. Early on, who do you think is going to be more naturally developed? The kids born in November of 2014 or the kids born in January of 2014? Well, goodness gracious, when you're talking about 5, 6, 7 years old, that 11 months makes a huge difference. The kid that's born the same year as my son in January versus the kid that's born in December or November is going to be 10, 11, 12 months more developed, more coordinated, more athletic, so on and so forth. So they found in these studies that the vast majority of soccer players are actually given preferential treatment going all the way back to when they were kids, and the coaches play the kids that are more developed and give them more attention and give them more affirmation. And you think it's talent. It's not talent. They're 10 months older. That's all it is. Someone that's 10 months older, a year older than somebody else is going to be more athletic. They get that affirmation, they get that nurture, they get the opportunities, and then it compounds. And then the kids a lot of times realize themselves at a very early age, 5, 6 years old, and I'm playing against other kids that I don't know that they're 10 months older than me. I don't know when they're birth. The kids not thinking about, and they're getting destroyed. And the kids then want to pull back and go, oh, I'm not good at soccer. I'm naturally not talented at this. To me, from everything that I've understood of how life works, the vast majority of what we call talent is more or less like this. So you think of someone that's like an incredible artist, and you go, wow, they're just, and Michael Jackson, he is just an incredible artist. Oh my gosh, since he was a little kid. You forget that his dad trained him since he was literally a little kid. He grows up in a musical household. You see a lot of folks today, hey, oh my gosh, they're just so much more talented singing wise. Well, you don't realize that they grew up singing in church. They grew up going to a Black Baptist church with a 4-part, 5-part harmonies and music and melody. A lot of that stuff is transferable over to a lot of our modern music today with both cadence and rhythm and melody and being able to sing early on. So you think it's talent, you think it's talent, just access to opportunity, it's access to platform, it's access to being in front of and in proximity with different people. And then that compounds and compounds and compounds and compounds. And then somebody wakes up at 18, 19 years old and they think it's talented. So for me, we've done a couple of things. Well, my son, Levi's 6, we've intentionally basically held him back a year. So he's going to be 18, going on 19 when he graduates. He is going into first grade. Okay, so he's 6 going into first grade. I was already 6 in the first grade. So we were doing things very intentionally to make sure that he gets these opportunities. He's in music very early on. He could play chords at 6. He could sing. He's doing ear training. So guess what's going to happen? He's going to grow up. By the time he's 18, 19, if he wants to do music, he'll have the foundational musical understanding. This is the same thing with my good friend John Keith. You guys know John Keith, incredible rapper. Shout out to Indie Tribe. #2 album on iTunes Hip Hop when they dropped. John Keith, you hear him at 18, 19 years old. You're like, oh my gosh, he sounds so good. How is he so good? You don't realize that John Keith has been in drum lessons. He's been in choirs. He's been doing music. He's been doing all kinds of teaching dance since he was a very young kid. These are transferable skills. So then if he wakes up at 17, 18, 19 years old and goes, I want to rap, guess what's going to happen? A John Keith is going to instantly be better than all the other 18, 19-year-old kids who did not get to go to drum school and drum lessons and teach dance and all these different things. So a lot of this stuff is compounded of different access to different information and different activities that build over time. Same thing with business. If you are very early on and your parents are instructing you on how money works, your parents are instructing you on what entrepreneurialism is, instructing you on creating stuff and selling stuff and how it all works, guess what's going to happen by the time you're 15, 16? And then by the time you're 20, it appears like it's a talent, but I think a lot of this has way more to do with our environment than it has to do with our natural God-given abilities. This is my opinion. I'm not making a theological argument for this. I'm saying from everything that I've researched. Now, I do think God gives us certain interests and wires us, but I also think God uses our life experience and his providence of what family we're born into, what era we're born into. Imagine if us sitting here right now experiencing this on an incredible platform called YouTube with all these cameras I got. Imagine if we were born 100 years ago. Our lives would have probably played out differently. I think in God's providence, for whatever reason, we live in this era. For whatever reason, we're connected here now. For whatever reason, this is what we're experiencing. It's interesting. It's really interesting when you think about it. So how much of this is natural God-given talent and how much of this is opportunity, access, God's providence of when we're born, what family we're born into, what city we're born into, what country we're born into. Could you imagine if you were born into another country? What if instead of being born in America, you were born in Mexico? What if instead of being born in America, you were born in North Korea? How would your life played out, right? You didn't get to choose any of that. God ultimately chose that. My advice, I have a little training that I do. It's in the description, how to find your niche training. And it's a culmination of things. It's a culmination of things you're good at already, skills you already have. What skills can you learn from the skills that you already had? I already had the skill of learning to record myself, learning to make beats. What did I do? That skill wasn't as scarce. So then I transferred and I skill stacked, I talent stacked that skill of making beats and making music and mixing music into video. And then I took video and then I stacked that into broadcasting and live streaming. And then you see what I'm saying? I'm skill stacking. This is a concept that I first heard from Scott Adams. So you take certain skills, you transfer them. So I think finding your niche is going to be a combination of what skills you have, what skills can you develop, what are your passions, What are things you're already knowledgeable about? What are things you already are experienced in? Because, you know, the world would just tell you, just follow your passion. Just do what you love. Just keep doing what you love. Well, it's like, hey, I really love basketball, but your boy is not that good at basketball. I thought I was going to go to the NBA, but there hasn't been any Armenians that have made it to the NBA. If I followed my passion, I would be chasing fantasies right now and not working my land. I will be flat broke. But I love music as well, and I was better at music than I was at basketball. And it was less competitive at the time, and then I was able to finesse that and build a music career for myself, an independent one, a very meek one, if we're honest. And then I was able to pivot and jump into the YouTube space. And hey, I might pivot from here. It just depends. So I think life is way more fluid than just God-given talent. I do know in my life, it's been a bunch of skill stacking. It's been a bunch of access to opportunity. It's been a bunch of access to people, to seeing best practices from other people, from being curious, being willing to learn, being willing to explore, being willing to do things that other people weren't willing to do, because a lot of us think that when we're done with school, well, hey, I'm done with school. I'm done learning. Guess I'm done learning. Done with high school. No. You never stop learning. You may stop with a formal education, but we always got to be learning. We always got to be developing new skills. We always got to remain curious. Children learn through play. Can you pursue learning new skills as if you're just playing around, right? I got some new virtual instruments because I'm jumping back into music and production and doing stuff like that. So I'm not sitting here trying to open up and make a hit record my first go. I'm just opening up these different virtual instruments and I'm learning and I'm playing and I'm having fun trying stuff. That mindset could help a lot of you guys develop some more skills to potentially change the trajectory of your life. So hopefully this is making sense. I want to hear from you guys on this topic, because this idea of God-given talent, I think the majority of what we call talent is a complete myth. I think the majority of the people that we deem as talented are a byproduct of genetics, yes, but it's a byproduct of access, the environment they were brought up in, the things they did as kids to develop the skills early on, and then it compounded, and then it compounded, and then it compounded, and then we get the elite level talent that we see. Beyonce's an elite level talent. Well, go read her come up story. She was growing up singing in church. Go read all of that background. Read her father being passionate about music. Read her mother being an entrepreneur, having her own salon shop. Read that whole story and you're like, oh, maybe it was just the environment she was in that allowed her the opportunity, and then her natural instincts to work hard compounded, and now we look up and 25 years later, she's Beyonce, cream of the crop talent, world-class talent. But I think it's actually way simpler than we think. So I want to hear from you guys.
King's Dream Entertainment, Ruslan.
Joshua the king came down and bore it all. Yeah. Conversations front of the fireplace. All of my mistakes out of I erase. Wanna operate at a higher pace. Birth pains causing the body to dilate. On a first name basis with the worst pain facing. Moments in isolation. See, I was hoping I would do this to get more family time. A busy mind and worried heart, is this not where I reside? I subscribed that all that traveling wasn't doing well.